Hey guys, welcome to the MMA Brothers podcast, the newest, baddest, and best podcast out there. And let's get it going. Hello guys, and welcome back to the MMA Brothers podcast. My name is Daryl.
This is Asher over here.
And we're gonna go over some weekly fight news on episode 13 of our show. So just to get us started off, we're gonna go over a few topics that we're gonna be talking about today. Edson Barboza moving to featherweight, Conor McGregor's future plans with the 170 division, and therefore and after in 2020, Khabib's retirement plans, the biggest matchmaking regret the UFC has, and GSP's plans for 2020.
Yep. So first topic on the agenda that we have here is going to be Conor McGregor and his plans at 170. Now, Conor McGregor has recently had an interview in which he spoke with the MacLife, which is actually his company, and he had stated that he has plans to be fighting at 155 and 170, and he's still chasing gold. In this topic, we're going to focus more about 170 and why he would want to try to go for gold at 170, because he watched the most recent fight, Covington versus Usman, and that was a tough one. McGregor is much smaller than those guys, so I don't know about you, Daryl, but for me, I think it's just a bad idea. You shouldn't try to go down that road.
He's a natural 55er,
Yeah.
right? Like, he weighs, I think, when he's walking around 160 something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be bulking up to go up to fight those guys. That almost never yields dividend. If you're a guy who's cutting, let's just say McGregor was naturally 185 and he's trying to make 155, right? Then you would have a point. Are you following what I'm saying?
I'm listening, yeah.
So, from that standpoint, you have to understand that McGregor is very, very small for the weight division. Kamaru Usman would just take him down and beat the living daylights out of him.
Yeah.
He would take Conor's best shot because at the end of the day, he's bulking up. Cardio goes down. Bigger muscles need more oxygen.
Yeah.
Conor already doesn't have a big gas tank because he's a fast twitch or whatever they always claim that he is.
Woodley,
yeah. So there's another one, Woodley. Like, come on, Conor would get killed by Woodley.
Woodley and Conor are the same height, just Woodley's more jacked.
That's what I'm. But Woodley could take him down and beat the living dead.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Conor would just get taken down so easily against these guys, it wouldn't even be funny. So I know in his mind he's super confident, but it's try and fight the smaller guys at 170 if you're gonna, and then maybe one fight, maybe in a few years, maybe try when he gets bigger to go against the champion.
Like him and Masvidal are around the same height. Jorge's not a very big, imposing dude. He hits hard.
Like Till is huge at 170.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess.
But then again, Till was depleting himself to get down to 170.
He's one of the biggest 170ers in the division.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you dehydrate yourself that severely, he said that before fights, like the week before, he felt terrible. Yeah. Like in his interview before he moved up to 185, he's like, bro, I feel terrible, I feel drained, I feel weak.
Yeah.
Like he just felt weak, And then he's like, he was killing himself to make 170. It's a good thing he's gone up to 185. There's a bunch of killers in 185, don't get me wrong. But we're going to keep it on Conor. So I think Conor plans on fighting Cowboy and then maybe Justin Gaethje, because Justin Gaethje has been crying for a fight from the UFC that's going to either bring him money or a title.
Yeah.
So he's a very exciting fighter to watch. I'd love to see, what's his name? The guy I just said. No.
Gaethje?
Yes, I'd love to see Gaethje versus McGregor.
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting fight. And following that,
he plans to fight several times in 2020, so I think he's going to fight 3 times. So obviously Cowboy.
He might get clipped by Cowboy.
The thing is, McGregor always comes through when he says something. He's going to do it. So whatever. Even if he loses to Cowboy, he'll probably go back down to 155, saying, yeah, 170 is not my division. 155 is where I reign. Blah blah blah. He'll make up something, and so he's going to probably fight. He's going to fight Cowboy, and he's going to fight Gaethje, or maybe Khabib, Tony winner in the middle of the summer. And then at the end of the year, another fight at 170 where it's Masvidal or whoever it's going to be. But I have a clip actually here of McGregor talking about it, so let's take a listen real quick.
So with this new sort of inner look and the new journey and focus on yourself, do titles still motivate you? Do you still want to make... Yeah, is that what you're looking for?
Of course, yes, most certainly. Gold, and I'd say silver win, because that bad motherfucker belt is a silver one. It's not the best looking belt, really. Well, I don't really care about that, to be honest. I want the gold. I'm after the gold. 155, 170. And they're the belts I am chasing now.
I know you don't want to talk about...
So, there you go. He had mentioned that that's what he's planning to do, but, yeah.
Usman would kill him.
Yeah, I don't think things are going to go to plan for McGregor on that one. But, let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about Mr. Edson Barboza.
So, I think Edson saw the merit of leg kicking Max Holloway, and he has the most devastating leg kicks possibly in the UFC. So he's saying, if all I gotta do is leg kick this guy and drop 10 pounds, he's gonna do it. I think he would face a very tough matchup in Volkanovski. Should he move down? I think Volkanovski versus Max is going to be a very good rematch, but I think Barboza is going to end up fighting someone like, what's his name? They got the long hair, Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great introduction into the featherweights, or Zombie.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, actually, Edson Barboza is a pretty big, not a huge 155er, but he's really jacked. So it's kind of thing like how Aldo, when he was going down to 145,
he's going to have to deplete himself.
He's going to have to deplete himself. More people tend to have more success going down than them going up a weight class. Like, obviously, there are some people like Anthony Smith, like Thiago Santos that went up and they did well. But people that come down the weight division, they're going to be big for their weight class. So Barboza is going to be big at this weight class. And he looked pretty depleted at 155 when he was weighing in. It's kind of like Aldo. I'm like, how's he going to make 145? So I don't know.
One thing they said about Aldo is Aldo did it over like 6 or 7 months. So he dropped his muscle mass, and then he just slowly worked his weight down. He didn't do one of these like, oh, I'm going to cut weight.
It wasn't quick like Dillashaw.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like, he's not doing EPO.
Yeah.
Hope he's not. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing to see, because we've seen that the greatest featherweight of all time, Max Holloway, in terms of like, wins and whatever title defenses. Conor McGregor is in the contention for that, but I'm just gonna keep it as Max Holloway for the sake of today. So, Max Holloway, if you take away his base of his fighting, he's a switch stance fighter. So he's gonna jab it in, come in with his right, switching stance to his left, mid combo, uppercut, hit you to the body, throw spinning kicks. He's gonna do a lot of flashy stuff, but he needs his legs, as every other fighter does, but some fighters can fight off in southpaws whereas they can in orthodox. Max almost can do the same, but his southpaw is not as efficient as we saw against Volkanovski. So I think he's seen that this weight division will struggle with leg kicks very severely, right? Volkanovski, same deal. If you take away his base, you're taking away his power.
Yeah.
Right? So I think Barboza is going to do very good in this weight class, because he's not beating Gaethje, he's not beating the top 55ers in that division, because Barboza is very good, but his skill set just doesn't match up with the guys who can wrestle.
Yeah, he's 1-4 in his last 5 bouts at 155. He recently lost to Paul Felder, and he lost to what's that other guy's name? Justin Gaethje in the first round, KO, pretty brutal. And then he beat Dan Hooker. Do you remember that fight? I don't know if you watched it, but like it was pretty brutal. Dan Hooker just eating body shots and stuff. So that's the one.
Yeah, that's why Dan Hooker moved up in weight class.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh no, he's still at 155, Dan Hooker.
No, he went from 45 to 55.
Oh, did he?
Dan Hooker moved up in a weight class. I know that for sure.
Oh, okay. So, and then, yeah, he also lost to Khabib, and he also lost to, what's that guy's name? Kevin Lee. So he's taken some brutal beatings at 155. So I think he's had, I was like, nah. Now, for his opponents, I would like to see him fight someone like Zabit, or like to see him fight someone like Yair Rodriguez. Imagine Yair Rodriguez was Edson Barboza. Like, bro, who wouldn't want to watch
kicks
that?
Galore.
It is kicks for days, bro. Like, those fights,
kicks.
you wouldn't have to worry about takedowns from Zabit or like from Yair. Just straight,
Zabit doesn't usually take people down, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, it would be so good to watch. But yeah, future is looking good for Barboza if he can make the weight safely. Now, we're going to move on to the next one. So, Mr. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he is planning on retiring at some point soon. Obviously, we know he's going to be fighting Tony Ferguson soon, and he's mentioned, I think, he's at 28-0 now. He's going to fight Ferguson at 249 in April, and I feel like he probably has 3 more fights left. He's probably
I think it's 1.
1?
Because I think he wants to get to 30 and then he's done.
So he's at 28 right now. So
yeah,
just 2 more? Oh, you mean 1 more after thing?
Yeah, after Tony.
Yeah, okay.
1 more after Tony. And then he's done, because 30-0 is
pretty sick record.
31-0 doesn't really have a better ring than 30. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Mayweather is coming back, 51-0, like, you know what I'm saying?
Who cares about Mayweather? In terms of UFC, which is the hardest sport to be undefeated in my opinion, Khabib has beaten everyone in his path. One thing I think is going to happen, and we're going to get into it later, is GSP is going to probably, if he gets to 29-0, I think GSP wants to be like 29-1. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because GSP always wants to come in, one little show, he does whatever he does, and then he's out of there.
Yeah.
Because his trainer was saying GSP can still make 155.
Yeah.
He said that he's very disciplined, still does martial arts all day, every day.
We'll talk about GSP later.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying that's going to be the path I see for Khabib because for me, he's done everything. He's beat everyone that needs to be beat at 155 except Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
So I think if he gets through Ferguson, which I don't think is going to happen, he's going to fight GSP or Gaethje. If GSP is not going to come back, fight Gaethje. Right? Prove that you can beat everyone that wants to challenge you, then you're good. So,
yeah. So I think... to me, the only real exciting fights left for Khabib is just maybe Gaethje and GSP. I don't really see anyone else. Like, McGregor is pushing for the rematch, and I know Dana White wants that because of the Moolah, the Benjamins. So maybe those are the last three that I see him doing, but then after that, there's no point. And he's not going to move up to 170 and fight someone like Usman. Khabib would just get slaughtered. So I definitely don't want to do that.
I think he just wants to fight... Masvidal at 170 because Masvidal's like, I'm too big for this guy. Masvidal used to fight at 55. Relax.
Yeah, Khabib is not going to 170. I think everybody knows that. He's sitting 155. So that's his immediate future plans. So we're going to move on. Daryl, you want to introduce this one?
Yep. So UFC Dana White names his biggest matchmaking regrets. So Dana went in and he says the fight between Brock Lesnar and Fedor Emelianenko is his biggest UFC matchmaking regret. So you can take it over for this one because I have something else that I think is probably his biggest regret. But based off this, you can take the reins for this one.
Yeah. So I mean, at this time, so you know, this is when Brock Lesnar was champion and Fedor was champion in his organization as well. I think he was fighting in Japan at the time, Fedor. And you know, many like big MMA fans wanted to see this fight. They wanted to see the champion, kind of like how Ben Askren, kind of how like Ben Askren was like the champion at 170, and they wanted him to come to the UFC, see how good he was. He was undefeated, blah blah blah. I think Fedor was at like 30-1 or 33-1, where I can't remember the record. So they wanted to see him fight Brock Lesnar, see how good he would do, right? So kind of the same situation here at the time when they're both champs. Now, Fedor's, you know, hand fighter, like is good to stand up and stuff. Lesnar, takedowns. This is Dana White's biggest matchmaking regret. I think Brock Lesnar would win this one easily. Why? Why? Because size and wrestling. Fedor would get taken down and just get ground and pounded.
Yeah, but you have to. Fedor can sprawl. He's faced big, bulky wrestlers before.
Yeah, I know.
He's 31 and something.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Fedor is possibly one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, if not the greatest.
Yeah.
I think Lesnar's biggest thing is if you can stuff his takedown, he's trash, he's garbage. He's legit garbage.
His stand-up is pretty horrible, I gotta say.
He feels the stiffest, like,
yo, bro, I can see those punches coming from a mile away.
Super garbage, man.
But we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about Dana White's perspective. We're going to give our perspectives on what the UFC's biggest matchmaking regrets could be. I'll let Daryl start with his first.
So, I think Darren Till versus Tyron Woodley is possibly one of his biggest mistakes, just based off the fact that Woodley is a very accomplished champ. Yes, Till was coming in with the hype. He was doing this, he was doing that. And he really messed up with that one. In the sense that Till needed one more tune-up fight, I think, like just to fine-tune his takedowns. He needed to face a guy who's explosive because he just fought Wonderboy, right? Wonder was a point fighter. He's going to keep you on the outside and do this. Woodley's going to take you down and beat the crap out of you, or he's going to hit you with the overhand, right? You needed to fight that style of fighter first before you go fight Woodley. You want to have mimic someone who's going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Second one, when Ben Askren came in, he gave him Robbie Lawler.
I mean, it's worked out for him. Like, he ended up winning the fight still, right?
Yes, but that was not the first fight you want to bring back. Put him against Damian Maia. I get it.
No, why Dana White had beef with Ben Askren?
Oh, I know. Because Ben was talking a lot of grease about him, and it's back and forth. But Ben Askren is a very big name.
Yeah.
Right? You can monetize that so well.
Yeah.
And he just chose, I'm just going to embarrass this guy and give him the absolute... There's no easy fights in the UFC, don't get it wrong. But you can easily give him a better stylistic matchup than a guy's going to break his face.
Yeah. I know.
I honestly think, listen, people can have their own opinion. Masvidal was not going to stop Ben Askren taking him down. That's what I know for sure. I know that for a fact. If Ben Askren, he would have taken him down. It was going to be a very boring fight. But I think that knockout happened once in every 300 fights. Because
if they
Askren someone has probably tried to fly knee Askren before. It's probably not the first time he's ever seen it.
Yeah.
But he timed it perfectly. The connection made such a...
The sound was brutal too.
I'm a huge Askren fan. That was very hard for me to watch. I love Game Bread, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Askren, those two are the main ones I think that the UFC made matchup mistakes because you can easily monetize Ben Askren a lot more. Even before he had his first fight in the UFC, I can't remember who was fighting. They panned into him with the crowd. Everyone went crazy.
That's true. Yeah. So I am going to take this one a little bit different. I'm going to go from what fight that was made that like I wish I saw. Not that it was necessarily a regret. John Jones versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. That one to me was just like, God. And I know this was John Jones' fault that the fight didn't happen because he got into a car accident and there was cocaine. Whatever. That's not the point of the story. Point is that fight was booked and was supposed to happen. And I was just like, man, like, imagine that when Rumble was knocking out Gustafsson, he was beating everyone, Glover to share, all these guys just beating them. Like, Rumble was just a beast. Then he was signed to fight John Jones. But anyways, Cormier ended up winning the title off of him when he came in as a late replacement. But still, I wish I saw that fight in the prime. They say they could still do it at heavyweight, but I think that ship has sailed. It's not the same as it was at the time. But yeah, we'll keep it moving. On to the last one, the last topic of the day. So we kind of talked about him a little earlier, but we're going to talk about him again. So we're going to talk about Mr. Georges St-Pierre. And Chael Sonnen recently said that we're going to see Georges St-Pierre in 2020, and he's really, really sure about that. Now, our question is going to be, who should Mr. St-Pierre fight? What do you think, Daryl?
I think it's either Usman. He's going to come in and fight Usman, which is not going to be a huge draw because Usman sucks on the mic. Or he's going to fight Khabib. There's only two real...
No, not Conor?
No. I don't see the Conor fight happen. Listen, Conor needs to understand, GSP is not one of these guys where you're going to go and knock him out in, like, first round KO. He's too disciplined. Like, he's seen the power of left hand. He's seen the guy who's southpaw, he's going to throw a bomb. He's seen it before. I think GSP wants to come back for a mega fight. So I think literally the only fight that he's going to come back for is Khabib.
I see him coming back for Khabib
as
well.
He's a wrestler. He's got jiu-jitsu. He's got everything that Khabib has, right? And he's a better stand-up fighter than Khabib, in my opinion.
Yep.
Khabib's going to struggle to take him down because George is very proficient. Like, there's nowhere where George is lacking in MMA, in my opinion. Maybe head kicks or whatever. But this is for a different discussion. So I think GSP is going to come back for sure this year. If Khabib beats Tony. If Khabib beats Tony, he's coming in. If Tony beats him, I see him fighting Tony.
Yeah, I see him fighting the winner of Khabib versus Tony.
And Tony's a nightmare. You guys, everyone's like, oh, Khabib is going to... Oh! Tony fights off his back like crazy. Tony, okay, out of all the fighters Khabib has fought, there's no one who wants you to take him down.
Yep.
There's no one.
Yep.
Poirier trash on the ground, slipped in a guillotine, trash guillotine, let the guy pop out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Poirier rocked him, didn't go for the kill. He's just chasing him, winging punches. I'm like, bro, cut him off, do something. I was very disappointed.
I was disappointed with Poirier.
I was so
what
disappointed.
Are you doing? Like,
so disappointed. You
he's
cracked
way
him.
better than that, yeah.
You cracked him.
Yeah.
Right? So, GSP is going to fight the winner of Khabib, Tony, and if Khabib gets through, definitely fighting Khabib. I'd love to see GSP versus Usman because Kamaru does not get enough credit because he sucks on the mic. Kamaru, you suck on the mic. So let you know that now.
Kamaru, please. Take some classes.
So cringe. I'd rather listen to Cejudo on the mic than listen to Usman. But yeah, so I think he's coming in for those two. Whoever draws the bigger crowd, I guess, from those two options. But you can take it from here.
So for me, I don't see Khabib. I don't see GSP fighting Usman. I think GSP's days at 170, been there, done that. He's won enough titles. He's like, who cares? Why would I go back to 170 and win a fight again? He already beat who?
Bisping.
Oh, he already beat Bisping at 185. He's already has like 8 titles at 170. Literally, what's the purpose? Like, Usman is only getting his career started at 170. Like, I know he's fought like 10 or 11 times in the UFC, but that's not the point. My point is he just became champion. if Usman was like champion for like, you know, a few years and GSP was like, yo, this guy is actually like, you know what I mean? Like he's that good, then fine, maybe he would fight 170. But I think GSP is gonna come back for Khabib, and he's been cutting weight. If you follow GSP on Instagram, you see like he's looking really, really slim, and like he keeps on doing all these diets and whatever. So many signals are stating that he's gonna come back at 155. So if Khabib is successful against Ferguson, I see GSP coming back in 2020 for sure and saying I want Khabib. And GSP doesn't get taken down very easily, and that's going to be a phenomenal fight to watch because GSP is definitely better on the feet than Khabib, and if Khabib cannot take GSP down, I like how that fight's going to go.
Yeah.
But
Tony's gonna make GSP piss blood too. In the fight too.
So that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of the MMA Brothers podcast. I hope you enjoyed episode 13. Again, we have another week in which we're not gonna have any. January 18th. So yeah, one more week to go with fight news next week to expect, and then the week after that, you're going to expect a pre-fight for the McGregor card and a post-fight as well. So any last words you want to say, Daryl?
Yeah, remember we all don't like Asher. Follow us on Instagram at MMA Brothers Pod. Same title for Spotify and all the other streaming platforms that you can get these podcasts on. Like and subscribe, comment. Love the engagement we're getting from the people who are commenting. Please, we'd love to hear your opinions. Keep them coming. And
yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. See you guys. Have a good weekend and Happy New Year. Bye bye.